Welcome to the 3 Championship Drive podcast on YouTube, hosted by me, Lance Caporossi. Follow me on X at Lance Caporossi, the same way you see it spelled on the screen. Do us a favor, hit the subscribe button, like the video, but more importantly, tell a Pistons fan. All right, all you sickos out there, we have some summer league thoughts, reactions. Zach and I were
Tell your family about the Pistons podcast. Tell them. All right, go ahead.
No idea if that's a delay or not. But anyways, we're going to get into this. We were streaming the game together, and Zach blurted out just like that plenty of times during the game.
Man.
For bad plays and everything. And there were tons of them. There were some good plays, too, during the game. But the Detroit Pistons lost to the Philadelphia 76ers 94-81. So now before we get into individual player analysis, I like that not one single player was selfish. Even though Zach and I agreed we needed someone to take over late in the game to actually pull this off, because there was a moment where the Pistons could have pulled this win off. Yeah. Again, it's Summer League, not important, but we still want to see a win. I like that the ball movement was solid between the Pistons. I mean, there were a few times where they overpassed on offensive possessions where I can't believe they called that Marcus Sasser. And I'm pretty sure the ball was still in his hands when the buzzer went off, but they called it good. The defense, every player played with effort. That's what it felt like. That was fun to see. There were definitely some lapses on that side of the ball. But overall, for the first time these guys playing together, and I believe it's like a short practice week before Summer League begins, dude, they played pretty well for the most part. There just wasn't enough offense in this game. But we'll just go down the list. Ron Holland, he finished the game with 15 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks. He looks comfortable pushing the ball in transition. The handle is still a little weak, but, man, he had some plays where he was getting right to the rim. Solid defensively, active hands. That's what I liked. He was good around the rim, but he definitely needs to build the body to go through a player when he's at the rim. There were a few moments, a few times during the Summer League game where Ron Holland's at the rim, and you could just tell if he just had a little bit more muscle on his body, a little more meat, he would have went right through the player. But, Zach, what are your thoughts on Ron Holland?
I liked his aggressiveness, and I still think we already knew this pre-draft analysis that his shooting was going to need some work. Only took 2 threes. Both threes were open attempts, and he did brick both of those. Now, that's fine. We'll let that come. That's not going to be that big of a deal. I mean, shooting from the field, he took 15 shots. That's a lot of shots, but I think that it was necessary that he went and tried to get some type of rhythm. Now, for overall, I think he had a good game. Like, I think with 7 boards, he showed that he was active on the glass. He had 1 steal. I think it was 1 steal. So I think he had a good first game in the Summer League. I felt like he's still in his G League Ignite role of him thinking he has to do way too much. I think he still kind of has it embedded in him. I think that's why he was playing his play style that he was. Like when Marcus Sasser would give him the ball, he always would look right to the rim like he needs to do something with it because there's no one else on the team that can score other but him at the moment. I think as he starts to consume that he's not going to be the guy, he's not looked at as the guy, and that he's going to have help, I think he's going to have a lot more success.
Yeah, when he plays with an actual point guard. Like, that was the biggest struggle, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But the lack of solid point guard play. I mean, shout out to Dennis Jenkins. Like, he played well. We'll talk about him in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But you could tell that there was nobody setting Ron Holland up. I mean, it was – you could tell he had to get back more into the playmaking, self-shot creation he had to do. And, he definitely struggled. And he really could have benefited playing with a point guard or just any guard that could set him up. And we really didn't get that tonight. And I don't know, did you kind of expect him to have a monster performance, though?
No.
Really, you didn't? I was thinking
no,
because he did average 20 in the G League with the Ignite. I thought there would be moments. Well, I really thought Marcus Sasser would take over the game.
That was my disappointment. Did you see Marcus Sasser's stat line?
We'll talk about him in a few minutes. Just save it for a second. Let's just keep talking about Ron Holland. I promise you we'll get to Marcus Sasser. But I thought Ron Holland would have a monster performance tonight. Nothing crazy, nothing like a career high for the Summer League, nothing like that. But I thought 20 points, which he was close to, I thought we would see that. I thought we'd see more of the athleticism on display. I thought we'd see I just thought we would see that from Ron Holland. But I will say the shot looked good, even though he, like you said, bricked a couple of threes. The form still looked good. It's not completely broken. There's a lot of hope in his jump shot. And there were even some guys saying this guy might be the guy to start ahead of Asar. But any final thoughts on Ron Holland?
I don't think he's there yet. I don't think he was going to have a big game. I think he's going to take some time to get into this, but we noticed it in the first quarter. It's what we were talking about for the whole game, is that these guys don't want to be selfish. But to be honest with you, we're at a point in the summer league where it's okay to be a little selfish right now. Take some shots, prove that you belong. Like Klintman had a decent game. So with Ron Holland taking his attempts, I have no issue with it. I think it was a good first game. I think we're going to see a lot of progression from him. I don't think he's going to take. I don't know if he's going to take more threes in his next game. I think he's good at 2 where he stands. So I'm fine with where he is at on that. But with Ron Holland, the biggest thing that jumped out at me the most was in the fourth quarter where he finally decided to go above the rim. And I thought he was going to get the first poster of Summer League. I thought he lost the ball in the air, but he went with authority. And that's what I want to see out of Ron Holland. I don't want Ron Holland to be banging threes in. He's not going to do that. It's not completely his play style. Talked about it a couple podcasts ago. I want these guys to be in the position to play how they are supposed to play. Ron Holland is a slasher and a defender. He is not going to post up and shoot threes. If we can get him and Asar maybe to start making some corner jumpers and get them up to 36%, 37%, then that's awesome. But I want to see Ron Holland in his zone and how he plays. And that fourth quarter dunk almost created a lot of buzz at Summer League.
So we did hear during the broadcast that Asar Thompson has been working every day with Fred Vinson. So the dream of him being an all-star in like the next 4 or 5 years, whatever I said, it's coming to fruition, baby. It's coming to fruition. So let's talk about Bobi Klintman. He had 13 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He shot 50% from the field. I loved his off-ball movement.
Yep.
His cutting ability, just to find that open space in the defense, it's so valuable in the NBA today. And he looks so much bigger than 6'9" out on the floor. And just to see him move at that size, loved it. Loved the effort. The 3-point shot was dropping. And do I dare say he looked like a guy that could play day one for the Detroit Pistons? I absolutely loved Bobi Klintman. And again, it's an overreaction for one day of Summer League, but Bobi Klintman, in my opinion, stole the show. What are your thoughts on Bobi Klintman?
I like the way he moved without the ball. I think from me just being just kind of an ass when it comes to looking and asking so much of these guys to perform better, I think Bobi Klintman needed to crash the boards a little bit more. I think he was on the perimeter a little too much for his size. They need him to rebound, and it's pretty important. I think they had Jared Jack mic'd up. Shout out to Jared Jack, coach in the first game of Summer League. But they had him mic'd up saying that we do not start a possession until we rebound the basketball. It's what he said. And I need Bobi Klintman to get in there and get some boards. I know he's not the biggest guy when it comes to he's tall, but not with his size. It's just he needs to get in there and he needs to get some boards. He shot really well. I think he shot 3 for 7 for 3. That's pretty good. That's really good. But even some of them were really contested, and some of them were late shot clock because, like we were saying, that these guys are passing up open shots. So I think Bobi's going to continue to thrive. I think his shot is pure. I just want to see more cutting out of him and more finishing at the basket.
Dude, there were a few plays where they missed him, where he was open cutting to the basket. Underneath, I believe it was a couple baseline cuts. He's going to be a 4 in the NBA. I think you are right about the rebounding. Again, we probably don't see him too much this upcoming season unless he just really overperforms during the Summer League like he did tonight.
Yeah.
But I love that he continued to leak out in transition. He was typically one of the first guys down the floor. He was always willing to look to make the extra pass. Defensively, it was a little inconsistent, but you saw that there's a world where he will be able to switch on smaller players and make things difficult for them, or at least uncomfortable. So my question to you is, after one day of Summer League, we got a few more games left, and this is an overreaction, but who do you think gets minutes first for the Detroit Pistons? Bobi Klintman or Ron Holland, just based off today?
It'll be Ron Holland. I think Ron Holland will be a 7th or an 8th guy off the bench because I think we'll actually see JB Bickerstaff actually use a lineup the right way. So I think we're going to be all right. But I see Klintman making the roster, man, for the overreaction, underreaction, reaction, or whatever you want to call it, man. I think he had a good performance. And for what they asked for him to do, he played well. So, I mean, with 28 minutes, shooting 5 of 10, 7 from 3, I just want to see a little bit more of a 4 out of him. That's all I want to see. I don't mind him spreading the floor and spacing for threes. I have no problem because him and Stewart will kind of do the same thing. So I think with the biggest thing with Ron Holland and Klintman for these young guys coming in, I think they just provide so much length. Like JB Bickerstaff wants to be more pro defense. And from what they have brought in, I think they're showing it. These guys are active. So and also Ron Holland had 2 blocks. So I think Ron Holland starts off with the most minutes. I don't think it's going to be a lot. I think they're going to ease into it. I think they're going to do the right thing with these young guys because they don't want to do them the wrong. Like if they're not ready, they will not play. We are not in a win now mode. We're not NBA championship contenders this year, 2025. It's not going to happen. So I think they're going to do the right thing with these younger guys and let them gain a little bit of experience before they kind of throw them into the fire. But I think Ron Holland gets the first minutes.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. Bobi Klintman did sign his rookie contract. It's 4 years, $7.99 million. I believe the year 3 and year 4. I don't know if those are fully guaranteed. I'm not really looking at the contract. I just remember the numbers. But anyways, yeah, Bobi Klintman, he is a Detroit Piston. He has made the 15-man roster. So let's talk about Marcus Sasser. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I haven't looked them up. I'll let you share them in a second. But to me, wasn't aggressive enough. I thought he would be. Because look, this is a guy that he played a handful of games for the Detroit Pistons and actually had a good rookie season. And I really thought that would show on the floor. Now, maybe it was because the Pistons wanted to use him as a primary point guard. Maybe they want him to learn that role. He's not a point guard. I mean, the assist numbers last season, I think it was like a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio from Marcus Sasser. He can take care of the ball. He can do those things, but he is a scorer first, a scorer second. He's a catch and shoot guard. You know, he gives you effort defensively, but he's not a point guard. And my biggest concern is, because I know there's a lot of fans that just want Jaden Ivey to start right away. I don't want to go into the season with Marcus Sasser as the backup point guard. I'm much more comfortable with Jaden Ivey being the backup point guard because he can do more point guard things than Marcus Sasser. Now, maybe the zone that Philly was playing the entire game, which was really funny to see by an NBA team, maybe that just messed with Marcus Sasser's head. But this is why I want to see Jaden Ivey be the backup point guard to Cade and still share the floor with him. Like, I'd rather see Jaden Ivey close games more than I would start games because he is dynamic in that way. But Zach, share the stats by Marcus Sasser and then give me your thoughts on Marcus Sasser.
I mean, we don't want to just destroy this guy. Like, that's unnecessary. But 30 minutes, 0 for 6 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3, 1 for 2 at the line. The one that he missed was on a tech for a dude hanging on the rim.
Ricky Council.
4 assists, 2 steals. I mean, and only 1 turnover and 2 personal fouls. He scored 1 point, Lance. And he was minus 16 on the plus-minus ratio. Now, dude, you can't – Marcus, listen to me. Hey, man, buddy, you can't be playing like this, dude. Because what was it, Lance? Was it last year when he dropped 50 points or what? I mean, he had a summer league blow-up. And this is where I think this guy needs to thrive. Like, this is where he needs to show that he is an important asset to this team, unless Jared Jack had other plans saying, hey, we need to get these young guys involved. Now, if that's the case, then throw everything I said negative out the window. Then his job was to facilitate for these young guys. But, geez, man, I know it's summer league, but, bro, like, we were up 3 with 6 minutes left in the fourth. And then Marcus Sasser just was nowhere to be found. Like, if this guy wants to be the backup point guard or any rotation guard piece on this team, he needs to show JB Bickerstaff he can put the ball in the basket, and he did not do that tonight.
So it was 40 points by Marcus Sasser. That was my bad when I told you that earlier. And yeah, so my question to you is, do you think, and I'm not going to base it just on Summer League, but watching this game and the new guards that the Detroit Pistons brought in, do you think that Marcus Sasser's days are numbered as a Detroit Piston?
It's not even about Marcus Sasser's athletic ability and what he's putting up on the stat sheet. I think it's his size, man. Like, we brought in some big guards. So I don't know, man. It's really tough to say. And that's why I wanted him. Yeah, we want Ron Holland to perform well in Summer League. We want Bobi Klintman to perform well. We want to see these guys do well. But we also need to see the guy that got minutes, a lot of minutes last year, be a leader, a leader on this team. And he did not do that. I'm not going to hammer him home. I'm not going to say he's the worst player. I'm not going to say any of these things because it doesn't matter. It is the first game of Summer League. I just think that he needs to come in with a better mental about the second game, which I'm going to watch, and he needs to lead this team a little bit more. I mean, he'll get Ron Holland will get his numbers. Bobi Klintman will get his numbers, but they will get better opportunities if Marcus is playing better because they didn't have to guard Marcus, and Marcus wasn't even looking to score. So I think I'm hoping for change. But with this performance and with the amount of guards that we have just brought in onto this roster, I mean, he might not be on this team very much longer.
Yeah, and I hope – I don't know. I love Marcus Sasser. I do love what he can bring to a team because he did shoot 37.5% from the three-point line. That's good. He played good, and he had 26 points, a career high as a rookie. For the Detroit Pistons, like I said, 71 games. He was available this season. The guy can be a dog defensively when he wants to be. He brings effort, but the size thing, 6'2". He's not a dynamic enough athlete to be like a Lou Williams or a Jamal Crawford or an electric scoring guard off the bench. Like I know some fans want that.
Yeah.
And there was at a point where I thought, man, you could start him alongside Cade and it would be perfectly fine. And I do think there's still this world where you can play him with a Cade and Jaden Ivey because they're bigger guards out on the floor, but like you don't have much rim protection. You can't really hide him defensively. And he's not really at that point in his career where he's a point of attack defender. It's just there's a lot to love about Marcus Sasser, but there's a lot to also question his fit on the Detroit Pistons going forward. I really think he's the odd man out of these young guys on the team. I think if there's a trade to be made, he'll probably be the one packing his bags.
But I don't even think it'll be just him. I think it'll end up being some type of package deal in the future. But I think he needs to play better. I think this is his little debut for this season of what he's going to bring to this team. And it needs to be scoring. It needs to be scoring. And it can't because it's not really anything else. So we'll find out next game. I hope he performs better because I'm the same as you. I don't have a problem with Sasser. He plays hard. He really does. And he is a very smart basketball player, but we just need to see more. We need to see more leadership out of him with all these young guys.
And by the way, we are just reacting to Summer League 1. I mean, our opinions can change of Marcus Sasser by next week when we record. Like, he could just go absolutely crazy for Summer League, and you can just disregard everything we're saying. But
I like Jenkins on the floor more than I like Sasser today.
I did too. And speaking of Dennis Jenkins, 10 points, 5 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, one that got called back, which was just amazing. I can't believe they overturned that in Summer League. He played with a ton of energy, got after it defensively, hit a couple of shots, that weird, awkward mid-range jumper when he was like a 1-on-3. He looked to get guys involved. I still think he's a couple years away from making a 15-man roster. I do think there's going to be parts during the season because injuries happen where he could get called up from the Motor City Cruise, but I do see him as a third point guard in the NBA someday. And this dude's going to be playing pro ball for a long time. But Dennis Jenkins, I did really like what I saw from him from the first game of Summer League. But what did you like about him?
He gave a lot of energy, man. And I don't think there was any type of mesh when Jenkins and Sasser were on the court at the same time. I felt like our plus minus was minus everything that they contributed to this team when they were both on the court because they're both trying to provide the same concept to the offense. Yeah, defensively, great because they worked well with switches, but it didn't matter when on the offensive end because we were so hot potato happy on who was going to take the shot. And then when the shot clock rolls down to 4 and you just throw it to Ron Holland and say, here, bro, miss another shot, that's kind of what we were at for a little bit of this game. But I did like Jenkins. I think Jenkins, if we were in a pinch and we had to bring someone up for a couple of games for like a 10-day or something for this roster, I wouldn't have an issue with him. I think he plays hard. I think the turnovers, that he only had 2 turnovers in 26 minutes, I'll take that. That's not bad at all. So, I mean, other than that, I mean, there's some people on this roster that probably shouldn't be on this roster. I don't know if you want to talk about them at all. But I like the guard play. I just want more out of Sasser. I see a lot of good things coming from Holland and Klintman. But I think we're looking okay right now.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys, like you're saying, they're not going to be on the Pistons roster. This is just fun to talk about. But Tulu Smith, he's another guy that's on a 2-way contract. He had 12 points, 11 rebounds. You know, you saw the offense that he's bringing from college. I like Tulu Smith. Jace Johnson, the big 7-footer for the Pistons, I think he had like 11 points and 6 rebounds, which blew your mind when I asked you.
Very quiet 11 points.
Yeah,
very.
I was blown away by that. He's most likely gonna be on the Motor City Cruise, just like he was last year. He definitely had some games for them. Wendell Moore Jr., you could kind of see why Minnesota just threw him in the trade the draft. He looks bad.
Lance, I'm putting you out there over Wendell Moore Jr.
Oh yeah, I would too.
I'm gonna put you out there because, dude, I don't think he knew. This is the first time I have seen this man play, and I don't think he had any idea where he was at half the time.
Yeah,
it wasn't good, man. Dude, but yeah, I agree. I see why we got him.
Yeah, he was real hesitant. There was a few times where he didn't pull up when he should have, and I felt like he really stalled the offense with his just inconsistent play and his hesitation on that side of the ball. Who was the guy? Aaron Estrada. He had a couple threes for him. He looks like he could, again, probably not going to be in the NBA for a long time, but one of these dudes that's going to just have a long pro career somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if like 3 years from now we're doing this podcast and we get an Aaron Estrada update where he just dropped 64 over in like the Chinese basketball league. Like I totally can see that happening in his career. He was a lot of fun. I love lefties. The stroke looked beautiful. It's just so hard to evaluate some of these guys because the team is kind of already complete for the Detroit Pistons. But do you think there are any diamonds in the rough on this summer league roster?
Nothing that I can see making an opening day starter position, like to fill up the 15th man spot. I did like Estrada. I did like his game. I thought he did have a smooth jump shot, although I think he airballed too.
He did. Right? He did. He shot. Yeah, he went low for a few of them.
Yeah, two for 6. He only got 17 minutes. He got less minutes than Wendell Moore, which I don't understand. That should not have been a thing. Hopefully we see a little bit of change because I think after Moore Jr.'s performance, I think you switch out Estrada and you give Estrada those minutes and see what you can do with them because I think he did play very well. So we'll see. I don't see any diamonds in the rough here. I just see a little bit of rough with the young guys that we know that are going to be on the roster.
No, that's a good point for Wendell Moore Jr. I'd be perfectly fine with him. He's going to get more minutes in Summer League, but like what you just said, give more minutes to one of these unknown guys. You kind of already know what you have in Wendell Moore Jr., and it's not an NBA player. Yeah. So might as well just give some minutes to like an Estrada, to a Jenkins, someone else where maybe they can make something happen Summer League, and maybe they take that spot from Wendell Moore Jr. I think it's a really steep mound for some of these guys, but if I had to bet, I could see Jenkins potentially making out of all of the I mean, outside of like Sasser, Klintman, and Ron Holland, and we'll have to throw in Wendell Moore Jr. Jenkins is one of these guys that I think you could actually see getting minutes from the Pistons just with that effort. But Tulu Smith, though, at 6'11", 7 foot, maybe you see some minutes from him, especially with injuries up front. I don't know. But these are our thoughts for the first game of Summer League. And that's where we'll end it. So thank you guys for listening.
Do you want me to say something? I did. You looked at me like I was supposed to say something. We agree completely on the first game. Like there's nothing really. There's no diamonds in the rough. I think what the roster that we have, that's what we're getting. Like there's nothing flashy about this. I hope Jenkins could get some minutes, but I also don't want to see any injuries on our roster because I feel like that's the only way him and Estrada get moved into the lineup.
Yeah, I guess I'll leave with this before I do the closing. I hope Marcus Sasser can figure out how to be a point guard during summer league and really show that he can be that third guard in that point guard spot for the Detroit Pistons. Because if not, go out and sign a veteran now. As soon as we're doing this, go out and find a veteran. But thank you guys for listening to the 3 Championship Drive podcast. Do us a favor, go to Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts and hit the follow button. After you hit the follow button, rate with 5 stars and tell us which guy stood out to you during summer league. But more importantly, tell a Pistons fan